Where socialist candidate Melat Kiros is challenging one of the longest-serving Democrats in the House. Kiros is under fire for refusing to say that this firebombing attack on a group of Jews last year was an act of anti-Semitism. The attack set multiple people on fire, leaving a dozen injured, and an elderly woman was killed. Here's what Kiros said about the attack.
What the perpetrator had in mind when he took those lives matters less to me than, our responsibility to making sure that people understand that even in the face of these kinds of disagreements, that violence is not the answer.
But you would not describe it as anti-Semitism?
I don't know. I don't know what his intentions were.
The motive does matter. Calling out anti-Semitism does matter, but apparently not to her. This comes after a slate of far-left candidates swept to victory in New York's primary election last year. House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries is welcoming them into the tent, posting, quote, "Congratulations to our newest members of the NYC congressional delegation. We must decisively address the affordability crisis and crush far-right extremism." But some Democrats are pushing back on the rise of the far left. They are few and far between, but one of them is Senator John Fetterman, who says they do not belong in his party.
It was a really big night for the dirtbag left, last week, without a doubt. And some of the crazy things that they've said, like clearly anti-America, anti-Western civilization. Between P. Hustle in Maine and some of the other winners, in New York, they should form their own party and run on all the things that they've had to delete on social media overall.
I would just note that election took place last week, the one tonight in Colorado with Melat Kiro. I want people to get to know her a little better. Here's what Kiro said about 9/11. Listen to this.
Was 9/11 an inevitable consequence for America based on U.S. foreign policy?
Inevitable in the sense that we destabilized a lot of the Middle East, that forced people to believe that another act of violence was the only response.
Butch, I am stunned by this. There's another candidate here in New York that won his primary that has similar equivocation on 9/11. That is something we can never equivocate on.
No, let me start by this. Let me give you one word: freedom. Socialism is not freedom. It's not. I wore this jacket today on the week of our 250th anniversary because it represents, it's the jacket that I received when I was at Aviation Officer Candidate School a long time ago. And it represents naval aviation, and it represents that freedom that was fought for the last 250 years, going back even to Valley Forge when Baron von Steuben was the general that was called in to help rally the troops and teach them while they were going through that perilous time in Valley Forge during the winter, and brought from that, and then we won our freedom from that. And very many individuals that I've known personally are no longer with us because they were fighting for this freedom. Socialism is not freedom. This example is very sad. I mean, she has put herself in the position of running for office, and she cannot make a statement on what is very obvious to all about anti-Semitism with what took place and all the details, and she's not able. Well, she's put herself in that realm. She has to make that statement. She has to come out and say, yes, I agree, or no, I don't agree. So on that, it's very sad. So I understand the differences, obviously, in Republican and Democratic type of ideals, but when we go to that far left, as Senator Fetterman said, and into the socialist realm, we got to realize, again, like I said, that's not freedom.
No. And Chevalier, who we've covered here in New York, CNN unearthed some of her previous tweets, and they say, no, we're not communists. We're not communists. Oh, wait, the previous tweets. Most of the theory I've read is communism, but I don't know what she was saying there. Pyromania, excuse me, associated with anarchism is very intriguing to me. Seize the means of production. Communism now. Previous tweets from Chevalier.
Yeah, look, she's just showing us who she is, and I think we believe. I was looking at your combat jacket, McDonnell Douglas Hornet, and I'm thinking about all the things that you've done. You're the best. You go to space, you do it all. And I don't just say that because we're friends. You're amazing. You're God's gift. You're one of his shining stars. Why don't we want the best for our country? Why are we choosing people who are not the best? They're choosing things that don't work for us. Like, we already know that socialism doesn't work. People from socialist countries are trying to break across our border. Like, if it worked so great, they'd stay there. No, they're looking for what we have here. Right. They're flying high, trying to get here and be like you, follow their dreams and do all those great things. So the Democrats are just drunk on this thought of hiring people who are not right for the job. And what I'm trying to figure out is when Republicans are really going to stand up and start to fight this. Yeah, it's okay to let the other side cook for a little while, but now you're in the fight. We're a few days out now. I know it's weeks, but it feels like just moments to the midterm elections. You're going to have to fight, because if you think socialism isn't on the rise, if anybody thinks that, that's a dirty well of water that we are all going to have to drink from. I don't know that that's not coming.
Yeah, Molly, it is coming. And it's not just New York. I've heard from like 10 Democrats, it's New York, it's New York. No, it's Colorado, where this Kiros woman might unseat a 15-term incumbent. Hassan Piker says he's going to phone bank for her today, and she's ahead in some of the polling. We'll see what happens tonight.
Well, we keep seeing people talk about how there is this upswing of these far-left candidates who are upsetting the establishment Democratic Party. But I think the really big problem is this is becoming the establishment Democratic Party.
Yep.
And you can show Fetterman saying something against it. Where's Barack Obama? You know, Barack Obama's pastor said things very similar to what she's saying right now. If he came out and said that he renounces this, that might mean something. Until then, you have to understand he's really the effectively the leader of the Democratic Party. They were able to put Biden in, who purported to be moderate and then governed as far left as Barack Obama did. That's who all these candidates are. Abigail Spanberger, the governor of Virginia, claimed to be moderate. She's just as radical as this Kiros individual. So this is what the Democratic Party is becoming, and I think the more people realize that, and unless it's anybody more than Fetterman speaking out against it, you just have to assume it's the entire party.
Yeah, and James Carville told me Saturday, look, Hakeem's going to have to deal with this, but Hakeem's not dealing with it. He's embracing it. And then you have Jayapal, who's outright cheerleading for socialism. Watch this, Emily.
Socialism is really popular, so he's trying to turn this into communism when he knows that the ideas that social democrats are running on, that progressives are running on, universal health care, universal child care, making sure that people get paid higher wages, those are incredibly popular.
Respectfully, that shows a massive ignorance of what socialism is. And I see this sort of lighthearted, inappropriate affect at totally diminishing what is, frankly, a fatal existence socialism. She doesn't know history? Has she not spoken to immigrants of those countries that escaped the communist bloc? Has she not read one page of a history book that outlined the devastation and starvation from socialist countries where it's basically just a power grab? So to laugh and call it popular, higher wages is not socialism. Everything that
opposite, really.
Exactly.
Right.
Everything that these candidates have been discussing, the ones that know socialism and communism, are deeply terrifying because they actually do know what it is. And they have thrown some type of sedative blanket over the masses, most importantly, and I think most viciously, the youth. So when she talks about popularity, that's referring to these algorithms. It's referring to TikTok. It's referring to the glorification of communism and socialism, democratic socialism online, which has completely swept college campuses thanks to indoctrinating college professors and the like. And that's why kids are coming home and saying, Mom, I just voted for Mom Donnie. Aren't you so proud of me? It is horrifying to see the disconnect between reality of the lived experience of socialism and what it turns into, and these people and these mouthpieces who are pretending it's Candyland. And by the way, Barack Obama has maybe been quiet, but guess who he campaigned with? The one here, Zoran Mamdani.
Yep.
So I think he has shown his absolute true colors. He is giggling about this. He is grateful about this because the destruction of the party, they don't care, guys. They made the tent so big that this was predictable because, remember, to them, blue is blue.
Yeah, and we got so caught up talking about Graham Plattner's sex scandals and everything else. Look at his policies.
Yeah.
He's part of this wave.
Absolutely. I would note Chevalier previously told CNN, I have grown considerably in the years since her tweets. And I would also remind our audience, it was just last week when she could not clearly tell an editorial board that a murderer should be behind bars. So one wonders when she will grow those views and outgrow those insane beliefs.
Be sure to like and subscribe for all the Fox News latest on YouTube and catch full shows streaming now on Fox One.